Here we go tonight, another show. Knowledge is Love is just a podcast show. I got a special guest, and can't you see? Her name is Natalie Marconi. We'll break it down, B. Talking about Ascension, shadow work too. Two Scorpio risings, dropping knowledge on you off the top of the dome. All my styles are free, because this MC was born in NYC. Yes. You know, it's Aries season. I grab the microphone and I rhyme for a reason. She's a mentor, a spiritual healer. And trust me, she's a wisdom dealer. You're not ready. We rock steady. And I want you to know it's time to getty. Time for us to go and start the show. Knowledge is love, and that's the intro, yo.
I'm with you. The weirdos have a call too, but it doesn't quite look like that.
That's all right. That's all right. Well, you guys, welcome to the show. This is episode 324 of my Knowledge is Love Astrology podcast. And tonight I have a very special guest. She's like my soul sister from another mother. She is an amazing mentor, teacher, psychic, spiritual healer, and author. I present to you tonight, Miss Nat, aka Natalie Marconi. Welcome to the show, my friend. How are you?
So nice to be here. It's so nice
to be here. To meet you and to have you on the show. I want to go in hot off the presses.
Okay.
We just came off of eclipse season, Mercury retrograde, Venus retrograde is ending on the 12th. The planet is bonkers, threats of wars, rumors, this, that, whatever. Where do you feel we are at as a collective on our ascension here on Gaia, Mother Earth?
I think when you ask that question, what collective are you referring to? Because I don't look, truly, I don't think we're one collective. Where my collective is, I feel like we're in a good place. I feel like we're in the pocket, you know,
Yeah.
But then I know there's chaos out there that I'm not paying any attention to.
Yes.
And I really don't know where the hell they are, but I know they're not with us.
Amen.
You know, they're not where we are. And I don't think they're going where we're going either, if I'm being quite frank, you know,
Yeah.
Because for you to move, when we really talk about ascension, you have to unplug from something. And if you're fighting this, you're not unplugged from this. You are squarely plugged in.
Yeah.
You know, you're squarely plugged in. So I don't think we're in the same place. You know, where me and my collective are going, I'm telling you, yesterday I channeled a message on live about the end of the evil agenda. And I so believe that that's the pocket that we're in, where we're really moving towards spiritual liberation in a real way, you know, and really understanding our power to alchemize a reality that serves us. And I think that's where my collective is at anyways. That's where the weirdos are at. That's where we're at.
I love that. And that's how I feel about my people. And I've been telling people even before the election, and honestly, I told people years ago, right? Turn off the television, the manipulation, the brainwashing. We have got to literally become the president and leaders of our own lives. Don't pay attention to the world and the 3D and the matrix and the cognitive dissonance and the programming, right? You said it perfectly. It's all about unplugging, but it has to be with intention, right? And we have to put in the work. So in terms of, you know, the Weirdo Collective and the work that you do, where do you feel, I know it's different, right? We're all different human beings, from blood types to genders to culture, ethnicity, all this stuff. But where do you feel is sort of the sweet spot with your spiritual work for people, right? I'm talking for each individual, the meditation. You know, I always say 7 days a week, at least 30 minutes to an hour a day. But I'm a realist and I meet people where they're at. I said, don't ever beat yourself up. But if you can't, you know, at least do 3 to 5 minutes, do something, take one step forward each day. What are your thoughts on that? And where do you direct people?
So I'm not a meditator, and I don't promote meditation at all, because I think it's almost antithesis to our human experience to try to turn our brain off. Your brain doesn't want to do that. And I'm a real fan of like moving with our natural flow, not fighting against who we are. So I think if meditation works for you and that's something you can do, that's dope. That's not something I've ever been able to do, you know? And so then what happens is I try to meditate and I feel like a failure. And then I get up and I walk away and I'm more frustrated than I was before I went to meditate. So
Okay.
we do something that we call jungle walks. And these are guided visualizations, and we do energy work together. And I call it turning your brain on. It's the complete opposite. Instead of trying to turn your brain off and working against your nature,
Right.
your mind doesn't want to turn off. And that's another thing. Most people don't feel safe already. Most people's egos are always on guard already. And now you're trying to tell him to go away. No, your ego is going to be overly engaged, you know, and that's what's happening for a lot of people. So instead, let's play. Let's play. Let's go fly dragons. Let's go meet our trauma. Let's go see a family member who died years ago. Like, and not just that, I'm all about like the power of alignment, right? The law of alignment. And I think if we can be in energy where we feel safe, where we feel limitless, where we feel like anything is possible, you know, then if we can align with that in our inner world, we will align with that in our outer world. And so I find that to be much more constructive than turning your brain off. And you can accomplish the same thing, but much faster. And then you have fun. You release, you relax, you know? So I really love jungle walks, and we do them every Sunday. At 9 a.m. It's $5. You come in, we do this energy work because I don't go live as much as I used to. But it's been amazing for adults to just play in their imagination. You know what I mean? Like really reconnect.
No, I love that, because I think it is important to mentally move and to physically even, like, you know, move your body. You know, I tell people meditation doesn't have to be just sitting still quiet in a room, right? I like to ground in earth and nature by my tree, you know, hiking, going for walks, you know, people can do it, you know, in the bathtub, shower. So I love that. And I love, you know, you're creating this energy of this like spiritual play. And I like the terminology of the jungle walk, because I think we have got to use our imagination, right? Our creativity vibrating from a heart chakra, right? You know, we've got to be authentic, because that's the highest frequency and vibration, authenticity. So when you, you know, work with people, do you work with mainly groups, or do you also do one-on-one work?
Oh no, I do a lot of one-on-one work.
Okay.
Yeah, most of my business is one-on-one clients, and then there's the community, the Weirdo Collective, and then there's the nonprofit, the Weirdo Collective Sanctuary.
Okay.
And so there's work with them that is more group-based for sure, but most of my work is one-on-one clients. Yeah.
I love that. Now, do you help people to recognize and bring up and out their gifts, or is it also shadow work and a little bit of everything, right?
So the shadow work, believe it or not, the reason I do the shadow work is because that's the way that you're going to help people open up to their gifts.
Yes.
You know, that's why. So I know it's weird for people to, well, first of all, I don't fit nice and neat in any box, right? So people don't know what to make of me in the first damn place. But then it doesn't make sense. Why does a psychic have more understanding about around trauma than like some psychiatrists do? And it really is because I understand energy, but then when people are coming to me, I'm like, yeah, let's get you, you're a psychic. Let's get you, you know, reading. Let's get you. But they didn't believe that they were capable. And I was like, oh shit. Okay, so go backwards. Like, no, we need to detangle all of that, because if we don't detangle that, it doesn't matter how competent I make you as a psychic. If you don't believe in your ability to read, if you don't believe in your worthiness, if you don't believe in your
and that's self-love, right?
Right. And not just that, if you, let's say that you are an unhealed person who decides that they want to use their gifts, you're a dangerous person to the client. You are a dangerous person to the client. I take this very seriously. And so to me, shadow work is something, that's the premise that we seek to build anything off of, a solid foundation built in love, right? Not a fractured foundation where, you know, I feel like I'm not worth anything, where I feel like everyone will leave, no one will ever stay, life just has to be misery, where my trauma is the most centered and most important thing in my life. Because if that's where I'm reading from, that's going to taint the reading off top. you
Always.
know?
Yeah.
So that's really important to me. So that's why we do shadow work, right? Because we need to make sure that we are reading and accessing spirit through the most pure channel, you know, and because your natural biases will color your readings if you don't get a hold of all of that. You have to have great self-control and great self-mastery to do the work, especially the way that I do this work, you know? And so that's what I teach. And I am raising some of the most amazing readers, and I'm so proud of them. I'm seeing them all right here, and I'm like, I'm so proud of them.
Well, welcome to everybody here tonight in the chat, and we will definitely get to you and some of your comments and questions. Make sure you guys all, like and definitely smash the like and the subscribe button for me. So I want to go back. Who was 10-year-old Natalie or Nat, and when did you first become aware of your different gifts? And really, what are they? Share them with us. What are your different gifts?
Yeah. Since the time I was a little girl, I have had my gifts at some capacity. And I think like most people who are just discovering their gifts, there's a lot coming through dreams. Maybe you're having some visions, maybe you're hearing a few things. So that was going on all of my life.
Okay.
Put my gifts away, and then they reflourish in my 30s. So like a lot of people, I turn away from them. I didn't appreciate the power that I had, but I also didn't have a lot of power. So when you ask me about my 10-year-old self, she knew she was different, and she knew that she was spiritually significant, even if she didn't understand how, but she also knew she had no power where she was at the time. Okay. Like I was well aware that I was in a very vulnerable place. Like my mother was abusive. My father was a heroin addict who died when I was young. Just we were poor, things were hard, so there were so many levels of feeling like I had no power. And I was well aware at 10 that I had none. So to see myself there and to be here where I stand so fully in my power, and I am the embodiment of power. And I don't say that in an arrogant way, but just as a matter of fact, it's an interesting reflection, quite frankly.
I love that. And I love the truth and the honesty. And, if you don't, mind me sharing with everybody, right? We got to talk a little bit of astrology, because Natalie, like myself, we're both Scorpio risings, and you have the Sag sun and moon. And so as you went through this process in your 30s, what was it? Was there an event or just an awareness in yourself that kind of made you kind of bring back young Natalie and these gifts that kind of brought everything in alignment?
Yes. I was stationed in Korea, South Korea, and it was an unaccompanied tour. I couldn't bring my children. I have 5 kids. I couldn't bring my husband, and I'm in Korea.
Okay. You're in the military?
I'm retired now. This was back in 2000.
Right. What branch? Like, what were you?
Air Force.
Okay. Oh, wow.
I was a nutritionist. But I didn't know who I was. I like all of a sudden, all these things that I used to use to define myself were gone. I wasn't a mother really, anymore. My kids were there. They were this weird idea of something over there. And that's the way you had to treat it, right? My husband was over there, and I did not know who I was outside of them. I had no idea. And it caused a crisis. Like it really caused a crisis inside of me. And I remember being so depressed and so anxious. And I was a mess. I was a mess looking back at that person. And I found a thread of like a remembrance in me, and it was around my gifts. It was something that I don't know how I put it out of my head the way that I did, but I really did. I pushed it, and I was like, I want that back. I remember that. Like, I want that back. And I went and I worked to get it back.
Did you have any mentors, or was this? No. Yeah. Or was it just all you?
No, and I don't think I was meant to have any mentors either. As a mentor, I think there's value in having a mentor, but I think for me, my path was meant to be forged myself. Someone has to clear a new path, and then I think they can show other people that path. and make it easier for them. And that's what I've done with the shadow work, everything that's in my course, 12 years. And it's in the 6-month course. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to do that. I did it for you, but
Amen.
Spirit guided me. Spirit was like, put down the books, Nat, put down the books. Like, you can do this on your own. So when I came back to Virginia from Korea, I went right into a Wiccan community thinking like, okay, I grew up very religious, very pious. And so this Wiccan community, I was like, okay, I'm going to explore my spirituality. And I found
Christian, Muslim, what was it?
My first love was Palestinian. And I wore a hijab, and I said my prayer in Arabic. I was a pious I was a Jehovah's Witness. I was a Spanish Pentecostal. I was a Southern Baptist. Like,
so you did a little souffle.
I explored everything, I really did. And I always felt called. I always thought like I would be a reverend or something. So it's funny because we have a church, so to be there now is absolutely bizarre. Absolutely bizarre. But, I forgot what I was saying before you cut me off.
Well, no. You were talking about kind of like doing it on your own.
Oh, right.
And that transition coming back and from Korea.
So Spirit just said, figure it out. When I went to the Wiccan community and I felt like they were not inclusive, I walked away. And then it's funny how Spirit works. One day I was watching something on Facebook and this guy was talking about indigenous history. And I said, I'm really looking to find out more about my people. My mom's family, they're Panamanian. And the indigenous people, like, I wanted to understand my spirituality. I couldn't find anything that explained how it was experiencing anything. And he told me, just look this up. And I looked that up and I found the Guna people. And I was like, oh, it's a matrilineal line. The shamans are like the political leader, the religious leader, the medical leader. And if you know me, that's me, just so many things. And I was like, and that's when I settled. But I also realized there was no place that was going to be made for me. I was going to have to make my own place. Yes. There was no place that was going to, because you asked me to name my gifts. I'm not just a psychic. Right. I'm a shaman. I'm a medium. I'm an energy worker. I'm a channel. I'm an oracle. I'm a really powerful seer. I'm a fate witch. Like, what is all that? And how do you communicate that to the world? You just be. You just are.
You just are. I mean? And it's just all from your heart. And that's so beautiful. I love that. So let's see who's in the chat and see if we have any questions for Natalie or comments. And you could just read the names and what people are saying and say hi to everybody.
So Alana Taylor, the first one that I see, I think I want to begin a program with you. How would you suggest I start?
Yes, that's my wife.
Oh, that's your wife. Yes. That's so funny that my eyes went right to her.
That's deep.
Hilarious. I didn't know. I am psychic. What can I say? Well, look, I think shadow work is the best place to start, quite honestly. When people jump into spirit school, until they do their shadow work, they're not seeing themselves really grow in their gifts because they're still insecure about their ability to believe in themselves. Right. You know what I'm saying? So I do think going and doing shadow work first, even if you started a month before you start spirit school.
And that's one-on-one with you, right?
No. So I don't really suggest one-on-ones with me. Quite honestly, I think they can be good, but I think there's a better use of your money, if I'm being quite honest.
Yeah.
And one-on-one with me is appropriate if you have a lot of suppressed trauma that you just cannot remember at all. You're really desperate to heal. You've been working at it a long time for yourself, and you can't see what you can't see. Right. Then it's really helpful to book with someone like me because I'll get to the heart of it in 15 minutes. I will annoy you with how fast I get to the heart of it. I love it. I've had clients who's like, I've been in therapy for 10 years, Nat. And it doesn't take that. The therapy,
and trust me, just like you, I'm not about bashing therapists and psychiatrists, psychologists, but it doesn't take that long.
But it does if you have an industry that needs users. Yes. Then I never want to heal you I just want to keep treating you.
Yeah.
And that's not me. Please let me get you where you need to be.
Quick, fast, in a hurry.
Come. You do shadow work, you get a reading, you do spirit school, you have a community, we believe in you. Go fly.
I love it.
Leave me alone. You never have to spend another cent with me. Like, I'm so serious. I'm such a bad business person.
No, you're not. You know why? Because capitalism does not breed humanism. And for who you and I are and the work that we do, the business, it will always come. But this is God's work. We are here to heal people and awaken people for them to remember who they are, who their soul chose them to be. We are all gifted, but you help people understand and remember that. That's what I like to do too, with my astrology readings and other stuff that I do with them. And it's so important. So you're a great businesswoman.
Yes.
Okay.
Sure, I'll buy that. Yes.
Yeah.
My focus just is never on the money, although my prices are not cheap.
Yeah.
They're reasonable amongst my contemporaries, but because I do think we deserve to make a decent living for what we do.
Amen.
And if I'm going to be completely honest with you, I am a healer first.
Yeah.
Like, what I'm really proud of is my ability to do like physical healing on people and to really help them. And now I'm getting a reputation for that, and people are coming to me more for that. And I love that, but I don't ever want to sell that.
Yeah.
So that means I do think, like, think about healers in a village. They should not be worried about daily mundane tasks. They really shouldn't.
Yeah.
If they are especially the spiritual healer in the community, they should be in a position where they are never stressed.
Exactly.
Their work is too important. You know what I mean?
It's so important. And so that means there needs to be that fair and equal energy exchange, right? So if you're the healer in the village and you're healing people, then that means people coming and bringing you some breakfast, some lunch. They're bringing you some food, right, clothing, shelter, because they know that you are invaluable, right? So then you get respected and revered because they need you to continue your soul's mission and do your work.
And absolutely, but not just that. Like, if the clearer my channel is, the more purely I can heal you.
Yes.
So the more you pour into me, literally, the more you get out of me. Like, what more reciprocity can it be than that?
That's beautiful.
The softer you make my life, the easier you make everything for me, the more beautiful and pure the healing is that I can do for you. Ensuring, what do you need? You need a road opener? I got you. Your kid isn't feeling good? I got it. What do you need?
Wait, you're making me laugh. Wait, so that I could be my story to my wife and be like, babe, so I can continue healing, I need you to,
take care of everything, baby.
Rub my feet and make that sandwich for me.
Yeah, but when she knocks you upside the head, then that's her reciprocity. Just be prepared for that. Prepare for that.
She actually is the best and takes amazing care of me. And
sure she does.
We're actually coming up on 17 years of marriage this summer.
That's amazing.
So I am a man filled with love, joy, and gratitude. So now let's get to some more people in the chat, because I'm sure people have questions for you. And then I want to hear and talk about your books.
Okay. Nat, can you describe a moment when you truly felt you were healed? Rudia. Where I fully or truly felt like I was healed. I think it's this moment right now, and I'm being so sincere, because as I'm sitting here, I can't even think of something that I needed to be healed from. That's how decentered my trauma, my past, my pain is in my life. It's so transmuted that it's hard to draw up a memory.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
That's deep. No, I love that.
And this is where, when you introduce, or when we were talking earlier and you're like, this is what's happened to me, I found it so strange, right? I'm looking at you, but it's very human. It's very normal, right? But like, I don't even think to center any of that in any introduction of who I am to the world on any level anymore. Where before I used to do that a lot.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you this. I think one thing that I've come to realize is that any and all that we go through, we're built for it, and our souls have selected this. And for me, I just live in gratitude every day. You know what I mean?
I don't think our souls did select this.
You don't? Tell me. So do you think this is some of this stuff?
You know what allows us to believe that? And I'm so sorry to talk over you. I'm such a rude guest.
No. Because I think I know where you're going with this, and I'm very fascinated by it, because I may have seen you mention it in a video, but okay, you just go ahead and say it, because do you not feel that we have chosen our parents and that we have a soul contract?
Okay. I think it's a corrupt capitalistic system that makes us think that we would ever choose suffering, as though suffering has any fucking utility in our lives. So no, I don't think that we would ever choose suffering. What's the point of that? Like, seriously, I'm Dr. Strange in it right now. Yeah. And I just cannot see the point of choosing suffering. We chose to make life harder than we had the choice to have an easier life, and we chose suffering. Why? Because the capitalistic system has warped our mind to think that there's some morality in suffering, that there's some like, oh, I've suffered, look at me.
Well, no. Okay, but don't think of it that way. What about in terms of life lessons? And what if you have been in the reincarnation loop and you're breaking curses or trauma or karma from past lives? What do you think about that?
I think believing in karma is a karmic trap. I'm so sorry. I'm very open right now. No, I have not said those words before, but I think even teaching the idea of karma is a karmic trap. Oh, it's like I'm seeing it for the first time now. Like, if we didn't have notions of sin, would there be sin? If we didn't have notions of karma, would we be subject to it? Would we be?
So okay, so this is deep. I love where we're going with this. So do you think that in all the text and all the doctrines, even going from, ancient Kemet, Dead Sea Scrolls, Atlantis, Lemuria, do you think that there has been, whether it's from archons or, different aliens or whoever, right? Do you think that there has been something cast on us as human beings for us to be caught in this energy harvesting, reincarnation loop, to make us think that we've got to kind of go through whatever suffering to get things right?
Well, I think we have to agree to this. So then we agree by them manipulating us into thinking that things like suffering and pain and sacrifice, like, think about it. We are conditioned to worship a living sacrifice that is the highest pinnacle of being. To be Christ consciousness is to be ever long suffering. Fuck out of here. Out of here. It works for an abusive system that seeks to drain your life out of you through that sacrifice, through that I want to be hardworking. Struggle is just part of the human experience. No, it's not. I truly believe we are meant to have soft, delicate, easy lives. That's why everything was provided for us. The land was fertile. There were fruits in the trees. The vegetables grew without having to do a thing.
Right. Only America took out the female trees that bear the fruit. We got all these male trees, right?
So we've thrown everything out of balance to justify our own subjugation, and we would continue to uphold that status quo because we're addicted to our suffering. That's what they've done to us. So I have a lot of big thoughts about soul trafficking, and we talked briefly about some of my videos about it. I have seen souls get snatched up and trafficked into these vessels so that something evil can trade it in for power. And I think that's what's happened to a lot of us light workers. And how I know this is because I can see that they've been separated from something that I'm calling a daemon, right? Separated from it so that their power could be fed upon. Why? Because the things that seek to oppress have no inherent power.
Yes.
So to live high on the ham, or whatever the saying is, I have to steal power from the beings who have power. And how I'm going to do that first is by conditioning them to think that they have no power.
Yes.
You are born broken. And it's a mockery if you pay attention to it. You are born broken, you are born worthless, but you are born in God's image. So what are you calling my God?
Right.
What are you calling my God?
Those two things can't exist at the same time.
No.
That's illogical. You're right. Yeah, it makes no sense.
God says he is love. So I was made in his image. Then what am I? I am born love.
Love.
You think love struggles to exist? Love is, it just is. And we too were meant to just be. You know, I think about the energy that we put in so much of our daily life. I don't know if it's my age, but I'm really looking, and we spend so much time on such insignificant things, and we spend so little time on the significant things.
That's true.
You know?
That's true.
So here we are, and I'm so sorry.
No, I love it because it's such a mental, spiritual exploration. And to me, I see how brave and courageous you are, and fully aware and awakened, heart, soul, all of it. And for me, I joke and tease my wife sometimes because she's a Pisces and she's super idealistic, and in the Sag moon like you, do the right thing because it's the right thing to do. And for me, I can remember growing up, I've always been that person that I never understood doing harm to others. I never understood not being kind and thoughtful. I mean, that was just how I always was. And so when I would see cousins or family or friends or neighbors, reflect back all these negative things to me, I remember just so clearly thinking, well, gosh, what has gone wrong, or what's happened to them to harden, their hearts and harden them so much that they can't just smile and say grand rising, good morning, how are you, or just being human, right? And you're right. And this is where I think that we are coming to an awareness and an energy and a spirit where all the structures and systems that we've placed on ourselves and outside in the world, they're crumbling, and it's time to say goodbye. We cannot exist in the old versions of ourselves. We cannot exist in the old structures and systems. That's why I've been telling people, literally, you are the president and leader of your own life. Surely not any fools down in DC. Okay. And so that's, I think, but you're talking about it not just in the mundane, you're talking about in the soul, in the afterlife, and in the spiritual. And to me, that's so beautiful. So let's take one more question, and then I want to get to these books. Let's see what's going on here.
Let's see. Teaching.
And in a little bit, Natalie will maybe do a couple of readings for you guys and just, tap in and.
Okay, so Hope April says, if we control our own reality and are the masters, God, karma only exists if you say it does. No, I was just thinking, you guys know I'm having 10 conversations at the same dang old time, but I was just thinking, like, what does this mean? If what they're saying is, and that's the first time I've said it about karma, if what they're saying is even naming something, but that is what they're saying, gives it tremendous power, then if we seek to construct a new reality, as you say, old structures are dying, that means we must reimagine new structures, not just re-erect the same old structures.
No, totally.
And I don't think there's enough visionaries putting any time in it. Look, that's an imaginary job that we're doing, and that's something that adults don't spend enough time doing, using their imagination.
Exactly.
But it's important because that is a scaffolding for a reality, what we believe is possible, what we imagine can be. And one of the ways that they've broken us down is really by breaking down any space to imagine beyond the cages that they put in front of us. We become adults and we think that imagining is something for children. Since when? Since when? If we cannot collectively imagine anything better, there will be nothing better. So that's work that we should all be doing right now.
Well, it's funny that you say that, because what's happening? Fortune 500 companies, CEOs are learning with new science and studies and research, because science is always catching up to spirituality, right? That 30 minutes of pure play and joy a day makes people more productive. And what is that? That is the Leo energy. Vibrating from your heart chakra, playing joy, is being a kid.
Your sun's shining.
Yes.
I love that.
And so, if we can be, I always say we have to be maniacal, intentional, positive self-talk, positive affirmations, but have some fun. Let your hair down. I try to make my wife laugh every day, all the time. I used to do that with my mother before she passed away. That was my greatest joy. If I could get my mom to laugh, even being in a wheelchair, surviving breast, brain cancer, dementia, she would laugh. And I was like, it's a good day.
So
good day.
We have a Discord, and when we're not busy, we are laughing more often than not. And one of the things we love to do is a digital dance battle.
Oh, really?
It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous, but it's like my favorite. And they did it this weekend. I remember.
Wait, how do you even do? Like, explain that. So I've been on Discord a few times. It's a little confusing for me, but how do you do a digital dance battle? That sounds dope.
So we find that the GIFs, whatever you call it.
Okay.
That the ones that are really good. Oh, like I like to pull them from Stomp the Yard, but now I done told my secret, so now it's gone. But look, when I play to win. I don't mess around with them. I play to win. But no, we have such a fun time. And one time we had a block party. And so we're all picking the gifts. But the point is that we do, as a community, I think it is so important to create together, to cry together, to laugh together. And I say, if we're not crying in our community, we're laughing. It's one or the other. We're bawling like babies over some trauma-led work that I'm doing, some energy work. I'm like, no, see yourself as an infant. Look in your eyes. Would you say it to her? Then don't say it to yourself, and everyone's like, Nat, I can't.
Oh my God, I love it. Okay. All right. I'm gonna have to come to the spirit. Come to the circle. Because
we're just a fun, laid back community of weirdos, real weirdos.
Okay. Share with us. I know you have a book, and then there's a second one about to come out. So share first the one that's already out now, the title, and show us the book and share it with us, please.
Empowered by Love and Connection by Natalie Marconi. It's a riveting book about love, connection, and everything in between. No, seriously. I truly am a jackass, and you probably should have known that before you invited me on the show.
I love it.
I
love it. I love it.
This book is about redefining how we define love and how we understand love. It dawned on me that a lot of people are using the word love, but I don't think we're all working from the same premise. Like, I really don't think we are. So this is about redefining, instead of relationship, which is just a cage for love, focusing on the connection that is formed through that love. I find that people focus a little bit too much on the vessel. So it's this is my husband. I need a husband, but they don't really care what it's filled with, because society told them that something's better than nothing. You know what I mean? Yeah. And then they end up miserable. Yeah. Well, that relationship never had love in it. You were just concerned with the label. That's what you got. So this book is really about relationships, how we interact with one another, how we understand love, and there are some profound concepts, but I can't think of them right now.
That's okay. Now tell everybody where, give them your information, your website and stuff, and where can they purchase the book at?
So you can purchase this book on my site. I don't think Amazon's picked it up yet, and I would rather you don't, because come on.
Nah.
But my website is myname.com, and you can find them under the shop button.
So NatalieMarconi.com.
That's right.
All right. Yep.
And then this is the second book, and then there's a third one on the Wellspring system. But this is the second book, Commanding Reality. This one is about ego and ego. We've all heard of ego. Something I coined probably like 6 to 8 months ago is the term ego. It is the term for our emotional mind, because we have one. And I think, when people talk about the divine feminine rising, people don't understand that's the ego rising. The ego is what's been suppressed. All of us have ego. This isn't just about, women. No. This is about the divine feminine within all of us. And really it's about bringing the divine masculine into better balance, which is the ego into better balance. The ego's been out of control. We've been focused on the vessel and not on the substance. And we need to see both. We need to see both to make the most informed decisions going forward. So that's where I think we're moving into.
I really love that. That is so true and so awesome. And when you said that, I was thinking about the, that emotional mind that takes us into the moon, and that's really, really important. So what do you think about, I love you mentioned, and this is something my wife and I had spoken about before, but it's really true. And I love Lauryn Hill, right? And she used to, when she was first coming back, she would show up at these concerts like so late and, and call me Miss Hill and this and that. And, she's definitely not the worst at doing this. But I remember you had mentioned that, there's definitely like that loosh and that energy harvesting when people, and we all love going to shows and concerts, but when people are not respectful, but are really trying to create an atmosphere. I mean, we all know famously or infamously the whole Travis Scott debacle and all the demonic, stuff. And there's so many artists out there, not just in hip hop, pop, rock, all of them that are doing real like demonic, bringing spirits and entities. So what are your thoughts on that? Because we know how music is so important, but it also can be important on the negative side, affecting the subconscious mind.
Yeah.
So share with the audience your philosophy on that, because I really think it's fascinating.
So the video you're referring to was, I think, a Sexy Red concert. She was 7 hours late for the show. They stayed.
She's like an industry plant. She's terrible.
Yes.
God.
Let me watch myself. But absolutely, I completely agree. But I think so many of the mainstream artists are being used for the same agenda, quite frankly. But anyways, every time I see a video of the artists making people wait, Spirit's like, they do it on purpose. Spirit's like yelling in my ear. They do it they want them riled up. And then they want to harvest that energy, And what's interesting is I posted that video and then I went to the Dreamville Fest this last weekend. And I'm like, what a hypocrite. But there's something so deep about festivals and this open air that isn't harvesting in any way. You know what I'm saying? It's so much more.
Now, who is that? The Dreamville Fest? Is that J. Cole?
That's J. Cole. Yeah.
Love J. Cole.
Oh, it was it was amazing.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
I like it.
Every bit of it. Anyways, I'm still a little bit on a high from that, but I do think I don't like concerts, and I didn't think about it to this weekend, that are enclosed space. I really do feel like that's more of that harvesting, right? When it's in an open space, it's just not possible to harvest it quite the same way. So I think if you're going to go to open air, or clear and shield. I think spiritual hygiene and spiritual projection are so important for everyone.
Right, because we're not victims in the 3D to 5D or anywhere we go, right? Anywhere. We can set the intention.
Exactly, and
protect ourselves.
You can clear everything ahead of time too. Like I cleared the festival before I got there. I cleared it so much. I did not mess around. And it was a vibe. I had such a good time. I really did. So
that's wonderful. I love that. All right. So now let's take, maybe we take a question. You want to do like a reading? If someone, has something that they want to ask you or share, maybe you can tap in and psychically guide them in a way.
Sure. Let's see. How do I choose someone?
I don't know. Just use your intuition. Let's just see if you guys, if you have questions for Nat about your life, your family, your relationships, your career, your destiny. I mean,
you got a psychic question for me, you guys?
Yeah, let's ask away. Because for me, I have you seen Supercell?
Yes.
We just finished the first season and we watched it as a family with my boys. Okay. I don't know if I should say this out loud. I have the sickle cell trait.
Oh.
And I only have one son that has it. And he happens to be the son that while I was in coma, I astral traveled to my home and he saw me. He gave me a hug and then told mom, or told, my wife, his mother, Daddy came to the house and he's going to be okay. And that show, when they show you stuff in shows, they're not lying.
Can I tell you something?
Go ahead, tell me.
You're not human.
I know I'm not human.
This is interesting. You're an insect. This is interesting. There's something neon about your blood. It's green. Oh, you are an insect.
Really?
Yeah, that's interesting.
That's really deep. And I'm telling you, it was really fascinating watching that, because one of my sons said, well, Dad, do you think that these gifts or these abilities are real? This is just a TV show. Another kid was like, no, it's just a show, this and that. And I said, well, I'll tell you, in a lot of the movies, they're giving you information that is really truth. And I said, and I will tell you, just look at Daddy. There was no reason for me to, there is always a reason, but I'm saying I was not supposed to make it through what I made it through. And, even with what they were doing in the hospital, they denied me the monoclonal antibodies. They gave me remdesivir, all these things. Yeah. They gave me steroids when I told them I had valley fever, which awakened the valley fever. And then that made it join my lungs to join the COVID party in my lungs. And they watched me get down to 10% function of one lung. August 29th, September 6th, I fell into a coma. So, okay, so explain the insect thing more. And what do you think about that connection to my son? Because him and I both have the trait.
What are your gifts?
There are a lot. I mean, okay, so I see the future, visions of the future.
Okay.
Since I've awakened out of coma, my intuition has increased a lot. Because I am legally blind and visually impaired, I have superhero sense of smell and hearing. I used to joke and say I can hear an ant pee. But, since coma, what was really wild, like I have RP. So my vision is only supposed to get worse. When I came home from coma and after rehab and all that, I went to the eye doctor. I had an improvement in my right eye, which is my worst eye. And that's not supposed to happen, right? Then I worked with a shaman and had another improvement. But I get visions, Like I told you, I dreamt about 9/11 2 years before it happened. I dreamt about my wife and then I met her. I mean, and it was clear. Like it wasn't just like whatever, like it was super clear. And so, I don't know. I'm a very humble person. I don't claim any titles. I just say intuitive. But I know that like probably working with someone like you, I could probably bring out, because I've been told, I'll tell you what spiritual people have told me, that I'm a shaman, so, but I know I'm a humble servant. That's how, I'm just here for the people. Definitely. But when I watch that show, which has made you, have that reaction, because, if you watch that show, there's something more to than just what that's some deep stuff. So what is it that you made you say the insect and the sickle cell trait? What is the connection? Or that was just with me?
I don't think it's a more broad connection. I think there is something about the sickle cell trait and spiritual power.
Yes.
There's definitely something there, like increased spiritual power.
Yeah.
It's the same thing I'm seeing, but not at the same level, but it's similar to what I'm seeing just in people with iron deficiency anemia. I see something's different about their access to spirit. It's something studying right now,
I love it. Yeah.
So there's something there. And when I watched Supercell, I was like, there's something there.
Yeah.
But no, with you, something feels confused in a real way. You feel like a vampire. You feel like an insect. You feel like a vampire. And I know how ridiculous that sounds. And it feels like your parents, this is going to sound ridiculous, are from like warring tribes. Like they had no business together. Is this true in real life?
No, they were married for 16 years, and then my father was murdered.
Okay.
Know?
And so they're like from the same town?
No, Tampa and Harlem.
No, that's exactly what I'm saying. Like very different upbringings.
Yeah.
Okay, that's exactly what I'm saying.
Okay.
Right, like they're from different tribes, but they're making this point not just in your physical life, but beyond your physical life. This is affected. So it's like it's showing up in your spiritual and your physical. It's the point that they're making.
Well, I would say I don't know about the vampire stuff. There's no vampire stuff in me. I don't want nobody's blood, and I ain't got no bad intentions.
No.
Okay. You mean it in a different way? Because I need some clarity with that.
I don't mean it quite in the way that you mean.
Okay.
The vampires that I have met, and it's been a very few, they have all been like reformed. I don't know how else to explain it.
Okay.
Like really have committed to living a different life this time around, but it doesn't change what they are. And they're not blood sucking, they're soul sucking. I don't know if that's a distinction that makes any difference to you, but it's around that loosh and that harvesting of that loosh. Now, again, every one of them that I've met has all been around doing something good in this life. And I don't know if that's a karmic giving that they feel committed to. I don't know what that's about, because I've never read one very deeply,
Right.
So, but it makes sense.
Okay. All right. Well, yeah, I mean, I'm definitely here to spread the love and to help the collective. And, it's funny because I tell people like, I was a relationship coach since I was 11 or 12 years old. I would give my friends advice and help this one and help that one. And what was so powerful while I was in coma, and I pointed this out to my boys, my wife she didn't have to cook one day. The love, the pouring out, because I honestly can say there's not one human on this earth walking around that could say Eric Taylor has done them wrong.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that love came back at my most challenging time, being in the hospital for 85 days and coma for 40 days. And they just sent my wife so much love and all the prayers. And it was just so beautiful, but I really feel that like, that's the love that I've always given to people, my entire life. You know what I mean? And so that's what I'm all. That's what knowledge is love. Astrology, probably that's what it's about, is the love, So it's definitely a calling for me in this lifetime, definitely.
Yeah, I didn't mean to put you on the spot.
No, I'm a big boy. I'm a Scorpio rising. It's good. So let's see if we get a reading for somebody.
Yes.
If somebody's got a question.
Am I to pursue my career with energy conductor at events? Huh.
Ooh. And who is this asking that?
This is Angel Marie Inc.
Okay.
Something's very confused around the energy of that question. Something is very confused here. My career as an energy conductor at events. I don't like this energy. And I really am reading the energy. I don't like that energy at all. I don't think so. And something else, I think your spiritual hygiene is not great, because something feels very like polluted about your, that's so impolite. I'm sorry, but it does. It feels very polluted. So I think if you're taking on this role of thinking that you're an energy conductor And it feels like you're pulling in so much energy everywhere you go. It feels like you're probably more dysregulated than not. Something feels very chaotic in your energy. So I don't think so. I don't. And if you're going to do it, I would make sure that you have really good spiritual hygiene and spiritual protection practices in place. Right. All right.
Okay.
What, if anything, is energetically delaying my success? This is Majestic Alana, 111. What, if anything, is energetically delaying my success? There's something in your womb, sweetie. So I'm going to say that this doesn't feel like an energy block. It feels like a corrupting energy. And yeah, it's making me a little anxious being in there. Okay, let me get out. I don't like to read like this without being able to talk to someone.
Yeah.
But this feels like from an old partner, something feels very stale, very stagnant, moldy. Like it's very stagnant energy down there. You need a good womb cleanse, and that is showing me, yeah, they're saying like gates are closed to you right now. So I think things are not moving for you right now. This energy has to be cleared. Like it's even taking my breath away. Yeah. I think it's affecting your health.
Now, that's interesting. How do you cleanse a womb?
Oh, I do energy work.
Okay.
Yeah, I do energy work. I do really good energy work too.
Now they can book with your email or just on the website, go straight to the
right on the website. They can book.
NatalieMarconi.com. Okay. Okay.
Normally I would say, oh, I'll do that work for you. But I didn't feel enough for her energy to do that work. I don't think I know who she is.
Okay.
You move energy, you balance. Sweetie, to balance energy, aren't you pulling in energy? How are you balancing it without pulling it in, without attaching yourself to it? Do you see what I'm saying, Angel? So you're interacting with the energy, and however you're interacting with it, it is, you don't have good spiritual hygiene. I think it's throwing you out of balance, sweetheart. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
Did you want me to do another one?
Yeah, let's do another one.
If negative energies, where'd it go? Can't get to you, can they come through people around you? This is Zoe Addison. Yes, they absolutely can, and they absolutely will use people,
other humans,
pets. Don't think it's just, they can touch pets. And spirits reminded me that they can even come through electronic means at times.
Oh, definitely.
So yes, they will.
I like to turn off the phone at night, the airplug, unplug the EMF. Yeah, you gotta. So can I ask you real quick?
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on crystals and how crystals can help us, to sometimes protect our energy?
So that's the one thing I don't believe that crystals do. I don't believe that they protect energy. I believe they clear, they balance, they heal. If you call those things protective, because you can, then I understand that position. But when I take issue with people who sell like bracelets who are like, this will protect you from evil spirits. I have never seen an entity, and I work in this field, be like, oh, a bracelet.
Right. I'm not thinking that. I'm thinking more of like from the Wi-Fi and the EMF, and whether you have obsidian or mogdavite or different crystals, things like that.
I would, like, as I'm looking at the energy right now, as you asked me that, it would have to be such large specimens to I think really disrupt it the way that you want it to.
Okay. Like big pieces.
Yes, it would have to be.
Okay.
Something is attempting to talk right now, and I don't want to talk to other things right now.
Okay.
I think this is I don't want to do this here, but your father?
My father, he could be here visiting. I don't know.
No, he is.
Okay.
I really don't enjoy mediumship readings. How did he pass?
My father was shot in Harlem.
Yes, I thought so.
And murdered. 110th Street.
Something's wrong. His soul hasn't passed. Oh, this is about me, I think. His soul has not gone. He should have. He should have. He's presenting he's presenting with his wounds, and he shouldn't be. He's passed over. Yeah, he shouldn't be. Something's wrong. Something's wrong here.
Well, just let him know. I send him love.
He hears you.
Okay. I love you, Dad, and miss you. And, you're good.
Why would he be earthbound?
I don't know. I've had others, psychics tell me that he's reincarnated.
Oh.
And that he's a child now somewhere, a male child.
Really?
I've had 2 different psychics tell me that. Yeah.
Okay.
So I don't know. But, I mean, this was 1977. So, but yeah,
I would expect that he would be gone.
Yeah.
I would expect that he would be gone. Okay. Sorry.
That's okay.
As things come, it's hard for me to ignore that. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's so much, but I loved what you talked about in terms of doing the work. How do you advise people when, people get caught up in even some things like, doing, whether it's like these spiritual retreats and doing the microdosing or the ayahuasca. And then on the other side of that, you've got this whole, and they came out with that, I think it was a Netflix or something documentary with this silly cult about the whole twin flame stuff, silliness, but kind of juxtapose, kind of explain your thoughts on those 2 separate things, the spirituality with some of the escapism, and I don't mean it like it's always a bad thing, but, just your thoughts on that. And then the relationship, twin flame, and the codependency stuff.
Yeah. There's something about like the Aya retreats that I find to be very microwave healing, especially when they're done like here in the States.
Yeah.
Like you can't even be bothered to go to where the medicine is.
Right. Like really go to Peru or Costa Rica. Yeah.
Like go on the diet to like have the experience on the land. I think that's an important part of the healing. It's everything together. You pull one thing out of it and you change the spell, the magic in the spell. So I think if you're going to do it, that's what you have to do. But I also think you have to go into it understanding that this isn't going to purge you of all your trauma. This isn't like you're going to go take this very expensive pill and all of a sudden you're healed. I've had so many people, and they all look the same, go to Aya retreats and either tell me, oh my God, I've ascended now. Or they think that they're like the most wise healer all of a sudden. They have this spiritual power they didn't have before. And it all is so ego driven. And I'm like, slow down. And look, I think that those things are helpful at breaking you open. I know that I partook in a lot of that. I know I wouldn't be where I am today without doing some things that, I can't talk about.
Right.
That helped to crack my brain open, but I still had work to do.
Oh, there's always work. There's always work.
It cracked me open. I got to sift through it now. Now I'm aware of it. I just wasn't aware of it before, but I still have to do the work to process this. There are no shortcuts through yourself, so
none whatsoever.
That's my problem with the Aya retreats,
Yeah.
Especially as Westerners use them. Excuse me.
Yeah. No, I get where you're coming from. And that's really profound and interesting. And then what about this whole concept? Because even I have clients that ask me, because you can see certain things in the birth chart with that, about twin flame and this and that, and I really try to get people away from that stuff because, you can create these trauma bonds and you can think that someone is like supposed to be in your life because they're a twin flame, and all it is bringing up some sort of, maybe past life karma or more drama in your life, and you're holding on to something that you're not meant to be attached to. So break that down for us, because I love your perspective on it.
First, I think empowerment is really important. People standing in their own power, people claiming it. So anything that externalizes your power is antithesis to my personal ethos, so that just foundationally on its face, I don't like the idea of externalizing your power in any sense. I think it's another drug that they're being sold, like seriously, it's something to keep you like engaged and busy and focused, because you're twin. Yeah. But it's also a very toxic dynamic. I'm not interested in this runner chaser dynamic.
No.
And why would that be appropriate? So this person is constantly leaving me, and I constantly have to chase. So I'm constantly disrespecting their boundaries. They're constantly hurting me. And we're stuck in this trauma knot of garbage. And we call that twin flame and make it aspirational, and people buy it.
It sounds dirty and disgusting, even when you explain it like that. It's so true. It's
right. So
it makes no sense.
There's no focus on self-love ever, because that love, that would be antithesis to their agenda. So no, I don't want you learning to love yourself. I want you instead focus on this pinnacle achievement in love. And we're going to call it the twin flame. They're the other half of you. If you ever want to have power in your life, you must convince this twin flame to love you. Beat them into submission. Stalk them if you have
and
to.
I want people to stop focusing on that. It is you talk about toxic stuff. That's toxic.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
Really.
And it's just anything that takes you out of your power, anything that decenters you from your power is a scam. Anything that decenters you from your power is a scam. And people just need to understand. I don't care. Wrap it up in religion. I don't care what you wrap it up in politics. I don't care. Economic system. I don't care.
So wait, that leads to a really powerful and important thought and question. How do you explain to people to find or identify their own inner authority and power?
The first thing we have to do is deconstruct all the false notions. So that's the first thing we do. Look, in my work, I have something called the healing triad that Spirit has downloaded into me. Okay. And the first pillar is deconstruction. Deconstruction of all that false BS that you're trying to build a life off of. We got to go excavate all of that. And we need to sift through it. We need to see what's worthwhile, where there are lessons still to learn, and then what's garbage. Get rid of the garbage, right? But then we need to edify the self. Right? Because now we've broken it down. Now we need to build it back up. It makes no difference if you have power, if you don't believe that you deserve power. So
that you're worthy.
Right. We have to do that work, to rebuild self-esteem, to rebuild self-image. A lot of what I do is around something I call self-mothering, learning to be a good mother to yourself, looking at it from that perspective. So, and then the last piece that I focus on is growing your spiritual intelligence. And that to me is important, independent of what you want to do in the spiritual, because everything is spiritual. And so I truly believe if your spiritual intelligence is low, you're going to have a harder time in the workplace. You're going to have a harder time as a parent. You're going to have a harder time as a partner, as a friend, as a son, as a daughter. You're just going to have a harder time in this life. So I think shadow work is for everyone. I think everyone needs to build their spiritual intelligence. They need to remember that we are sacred beings. We've lost something. We've lost an innate awareness. We've lost it. We've forgotten our value in the extreme.
But don't you think right now we're in sort of the greatest time, right? Leaving the Piscean age and the beginning stage of the age of Aquarius, in terms of, like you said, remembering. I feel like all this ancient wisdom and knowledge, and yes, there's a lot to sift through, and there's lie on top of truth, and there's confusion. But when we kind of come back home to ourselves and we establish the self-worth and self-love, I think this is a time, maybe more so ever in maybe world or modern history, I would say, that people are reawakening or remembering?
I do. I
Yeah.
do. I do. I think at the same time, there are a lot of people going deeper into forgetting.
Oh, well.
I think both
Yeah.
things are happening at the same
Yeah.
time.
Yeah. It's like
I see both very
the
clearly.
pendulum.
Yeah, I see both very clearly. So, yeah, I do think there's a lot of people waking up. Lord knows I have a community of beautiful humans who are doing this work. And I'm a weirdo in the extreme. And they're doing this very strange, weird work with me on behalf of all of humanity. They are awake. They're standing in their power. They're reclaiming their power every day. But I also see what's going on outside, and there's a lot of ridiculousness that is still happening. There's a lot of regression happening in our humanity. If you start measuring
Oh gosh.
humanity's progress by how well humanity is doing instead of technology or the economy, then we would see that we're regressing as a people.
It's a mess out there, and we see it every day. I mean, in this world, in this matrix, it is sometimes it's astonishing to me, the things that people believe in or accept or that they enjoy. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, I hate to refer back to music, but like, I think about like giving an award to a song like WAP or something, a couple years back, and I wonder, and I'm just like, oof, like, gosh, like, I'm a, old school hip hop head. So to me, like, how do I go from like a Queen Latifah or MC Light or, or real lyricist to then like, like a Cardi B and a Megan, that's very challenging for me, and this is why when you reference J. Cole, it warms my heart, like him and Kendrick, in terms of, millennials that are spitting intelligent lyrics and hot bars. And this could be for any musical genre, you guys. We're just, I'm just referencing the hip hop. But like, to me, I've met him a few times and we've worked with the same producer, KRS One and Rakim and Tribe Called Quest and De La Soul. There is a different intention because people, you have to always get this, you guys. Universal law, the word is life. Words are power. We're co-creators, right? So it's like, to me, you rhyme for a reason. I could sit down and write rhymes all day that are materialistic, misogynistic, disrespectful, negative, hatred, drugs. But why would I do that? What's the point? That is like beyond preschool, first grade. It's foolishness. And so people would call me like either arrogant or a hip hop snob or, oh, you're from New York, so you think, da, da, da. I was like, it has nothing to do with me being from New York. It has to do with me having love for a culture, humans, myself, that I'm not going to rhyme about killing another man, especially another Black man. That's illogical to me. You know what I mean? So, it is what it is. But I think that people have got to, really stand for something. And even in your entertainment and art and culture, if you play ignorant lyrics 20 times a day and you're sitting in your car listening to that, you're going to love that. But if I played for you Most Def or, or KRS One or Rakim 20 times a day in the radio, you will love positivity and consciousness and self-love and worthiness. You know what I mean? So it's really, who's controlling what, right? And that's a whole nother issue.
Oh, another one. Yeah.
So, okay, let's do one last reading. Maybe you pick.
I thought we were way over time already.
Oh, okay. Well, no, we don't have to do another one. We can wind it down. I was just feeling the flow, but I want to thank everybody in the live for coming and watching. Please go follow Natalie and just give them your handles, the IG and the TikTok. Everything will be down below in the description, you guys. But just share with the audience if they're not familiar what socials you're on and the best ways to reach out to you for, obviously, we already mentioned the book, but your services.
So all of my socials are at Natalie_Marconi. And then my website is nataliemarconi.com.
I love it. I love it. Oh my God. This has been so much fun. I feel like we could do a couple of shows and hours together like this, just talking about stuff. And, I really commend you on the work you're doing and salute and shout out. I'll definitely have to come visit the Weirdo Collective. because I'm all about that. I love that. And, you know, it's important. It's important, you know, how you're moving and the work that you're doing. And I just want to encourage and support you to keep shining that light, and sharing your gifts, because it's appreciated and it's so needed. And I'm sure your collective, but even, you know, new people, will definitely want to vibe and connect and experience, you know, what you're sharing from your heart. And that's what it's all about. So I appreciate you, and I thank you so much for joining us tonight. This has been so much fun, you know. And you guys, listen, do me a favor. I know sometimes it can be hard and challenging, but, you know, focus on that self-love. But things like this tonight, share this with a friend. You don't know if there was something that Natalie said or that I said that could just spark something in you, or in your friend, your cousin, your parent, your sibling, you know, that may get them on a journey to start to awaken and to learn and to want to grow and to know and to heal and to know more. You know, so please, you know, share this episode. You know, it's just a click, and you never know. We're at a time now where I believe that, you know, people, they may be ready to hear something that they haven't heard before. Okay. Yeah. So I definitely encourage people to do that. And, you know, when this is over, please come back and comment. It helps the show grow in algorithms. I'll be back, you guys, Thursday afternoon, 3 p.m. Eastern on YouTube, but also this weekend, right? Astrological Coffee Talk with Eric, teaching on the transit of Jupiter and Cancer, 2 hours, $22. Please come check it out. And, you know, we have a great time. And then we'll be reading one Coffee Talk member's birth chart, which is always fun. And sometimes, like Natalie was sharing in her group, sometimes we laugh, sometimes we cry. We've had some really deep readings and stuff, and people connect and make friends. And that's what my 11th house crew is all about. So thank you, Natalie. This has been so awesome, my friend. I really appreciate you and your gifts. And, you know, I gotta like kind of ingest some of the stuff you shared with me and stuff, and be like, well, wait a minute, okay, you know, and contemplate and stuff. But I really appreciate it, my friend. So, good night, everybody, and yeah, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right.
Bye.
Bye, Natalie. Bye, everybody. Have a good night. And this was episode 324 of the Knowledge is Love Astrology Podcast. Natalie Marconi.